Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Backup Stories, Episode 8. My name is Justin Townsend. As always, I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Rob Newmeyer.
How's it going?
Rob, before we get into comics this week, there is a bit of casting news. Coming off the heels of Avengers Age of Ultron, we got a slew of casting information about the next real big Marvel movie, Captain America Civil War.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to throw it all out there.
Yeah. So they threw the first official synopsis and some interesting casting news. And let's do the synopsis first. Captain America Civil War picks up where Avengers Age of Ultron left off. As Steve Rogers leads the new team of Avengers in their continued efforts to safeguard humanity. After another international incident involving the Avengers results in collateral damage, political pressure mounts to install a system of accountability and a governing body to determine when to enlist the services of the team. The new status quo fractures the Avengers while they try and protect the world from a new and nefarious villain. So that kind of sounds just like the comic.
Now, do you think they're obviously replacing something they do wrong with, like what the New Warriors did in Civil War?
Yeah,
so
that seems.
Started it there.
The whole time we knew this movie was coming, I didn't think it was going to be something like this. I really felt that it would be okay, like something would happen, but that wouldn't be the main driving force. Somewhere along the way, I don't know if it's rumor or, I'm not sure where I've heard this or if it's just been, interesting conjecture, but that Bucky would be the one, like you were going to find out. We found out in The Winter Soldier that Bucky was the one who may have killed Stark's parents.
Okay.
And that Stark would find out and go hunting after Bucky. And that would lead to the conflict between Cap and Tony.
I've never heard that before.
That was, I can't remember where I've heard that, but I think it was when they had that big leak. I can't remember the website. Is it Latino
Review?
Latino Review had what they thought was like a big leak on like all the upcoming movies and like who would live and who would die in what movie, and taken with a grain of salt, whatever it was. I'm pretty sure they're the ones that maybe threw that little stone out there for people to pick up on.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that would be one way for them to do it. Now, who knows, that may come into play at some point anyway. I can't picture them throwing that little nugget out there in The Winter Soldier and them not picking it up later.
Yeah, because, we know he is in this movie.
Yeah.
And however the search is going for the Winter Soldier, because Steve said that's what he will do. I can't see them not using him for a major chunk of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned
he was so popular,
Oh yeah, he was the best part of. I thought he was the best part of the Winter Soldier. We mentioned casting, so let's just go down the huge role here. Reprising their roles: Chris Evans as Captain America. Oh man, surprising. Robert Downey Jr. making a boatload of money. I think it was like 40 or 50 million, like some insane amount of money to come be in this movie as Iron Man. Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier, Anthony Mackie as Falcon. Okay, now we start getting into the extended cast. Paul Bettany as Vision, Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye, Don Cheadle as War Machine, Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch. No Thor, no Hulk.
Well, it's the new Avengers.
Yeah. So Paul Rudd will reprise his role as Ant-Man. Chadwick Boseman will show up as Black Panther. The cast also includes Emily Van Camp as Agent 13, Daniel Bruhl in an unnamed role, reportedly playing Baron Zemo, Frank Grillo as Crossbones, and this is the wild card one, was William Hurt coming back as General Thaddeus Ross.
That's really cool.
Yeah, we haven't seen him since, I forget, 2008 Incredible Hulk?
Yep.
Same year that Iron Man came out. It was 7 or 8.
Yeah, because that's when Tony walked into the bar.
Yeah, and that was the first, I remember sitting in the movie theater being like, oh my God, that, these two movies are connected. I remember sitting in the theater, and at the very beginning, they show the Stark tech. And they're like all the schematics for stuff, and you see Stark's name on the blueprints, and I was so blown away that they were actually connecting the two movies.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for me, he's the wild card. I don't know where he fits.
Oh, he's just going to be probably a military liaison that absolutely hates everything that the Avengers are doing.
Yeah.
That's what I would guess. I don't know.
It's just weird to have that character in a movie with no Hulk. Like those two kind of go hand in hand. Like for me, it would be like having the Red Skull in a movie without Captain America.
No, I hear you. And there was one other guy that they just announced.
Oh, that's right. And Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman, yeah.
Who is in an unnamed role. So we don't know who he's going to be. Probably a villain, I'm going to assume.
No.
I think it would be...
He's going to be some kind of political...
I thought it would be so great if he was a villain, though. Because he always plays...
I don't know.
He always plays the good guy role. It would be great to see him do something that people wouldn't expect.
Well, if he's used to playing a hobbit, he could be like Pip the Troll.
That works. Sure. Yes. That definitely works.
That's never going to happen.
So there's a lot of people in this movie.
Yeah. And I'm happy. I don't, they showed that they could handle it with the amount of characters that was in the last Avengers movies.
Yeah. No spoilers for Avengers. We're still holding off on the spoiler show.
I'm just saying that they showed they could handle it. Yeah. So I'm super psyched.
Yeah. I'm optimistic. I'm not worried that there's too many people because, again, I mean, there is a ton of characters in Age of Ultron, and they managed to pull that off really well. Most movies, when they have that many leads or, that many people to shine a light on, the movie gets overstuffed. And for me, Avengers didn't feel that way. I'm just surprised that it's turning more into like Avengers 2.5 than a Captain America movie.
I could understand that, but so if you look at it this way, or, maybe not, a lot of people did not enjoy Iron Man 3.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was...
I am one of them.
That was a straight Iron Man movie. Winter Soldier was awesome. So the second Cap movie was awesome. Do we want another solo-ish Cap movie where it's just him straight going after Bucky and not even referencing any of this other stuff?
Yeah.
Like it's all out there on the table now. There's no way that they just couldn't reference all this stuff and
you're right.
Make it a Civil War adaptation,
especially coming off the way that Avengers ends. The characters are in places where it would be hard for them to realistically do a movie without those other characters being in the background. I mean, we were already wondering where Hawkeye was in the Winter Soldier. So it would be really difficult, you're right, to have another solo movie like that.
And with all these movies making so much money, it's not like they don't have the money to pay these people.
Yeah, and we don't know whether or not that the additional characters are going to be in the movie for the whole thing, or are they going to show up, for a 5-minute role, in the beginning, middle, or end of the movie. Like, we don't know. Like, they could still focus all of the attention on Captain America, which I pictured them doing. But then again, Robert Downey Jr. is not going to be...
Yeah, if you're paying him that much money.
Yeah, so he's the one that I feel like the rest. But the rest of the Avengers, like, I don't know how much they're going to come into play. I still picture this boiling down to Cap and Tony. And we've seen some of the leaked promotional images. Have you seen them?
No.
Okay, so this week... 3 promotional images got leaked, and it's Tony in the new suit. It's the Matt Fraction suit from, I think it was Iron Man number 50 and 500. I can't remember which one it was.
I'll let you know. Hold on one sec. Just in case anyone doesn't want to hear any of this or spoilers of any sorts, that's what we do. We talk about stuff and we don't hold back. If it's a book that we don't want to hold back on,
of course,
then we'll let you know. But
yeah.
So if you don't want to, be spoiled on any of this movie news, then just skip ahead a little bit.
And we're trying very hard to not spoil Avengers. We are planning a spoiler show for that, where we sit down and break down the film scene by scene.
That Fraction suit was like issue 14 or 15
with all the lights on it.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's the one that they're using for Civil War, and then Cap looks very similar to how he does in Avengers, but the one image has just the two of them coming head to head at each other, and with a big like lightning bolt down the middle. It's very dramatic.
Is it an official or is it a fan made?
No, it's official. I'm not sure that Marvel's the one that's put it out there, but one of those like reputable sites is like, nope, this is promo image, like a promo image that they got their hands on. So it'll be interesting. I mean, we got like a year, like just under a year now to wait. I think it's May 6th is the open for that movie.
Yeah. These movies are going to start rolling out
at a breakneck
kind
pace.
Kind of fast now, because Ant-Man's a couple of months.
Yeah, July or August. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, so it's going to make the wait between these movies just seem.
And on top of that, to make it better, I mean, the wait for the Marvel movies is bad, but we got all these other movies that are going to be filling in the gaps as well. Like, I'm excited to see Batman, Superman. I'm excited. Like, I'm still excited to see whatever Fantastic Four looks like.
Star Wars.
And then Jurassic World. Sure. Like, that movie looks very interesting.
I know. And it's weird. I'm not a movie theater person. I have, like I always say, it's my superpower is that I fall asleep at the movies. No matter how exciting the movie could be, I nod off. And it's weird. I don't understand why. I think it's because I have such like a shit sleep schedule as is.
Yours is pretty bad.
That I just relax and I'm out.
Well, we're going to have to be poking you in the side for some of these because they look really exciting.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, I mean, we got a year to wait. I want to know more about this movie, especially now that all these people are going to be in it that I wasn't expecting. I definitely want to see where they're going and. You're right. They are ramping up and they are in full comic book mode now.
Now, when do you put yourself on like media blackout, or do you?
Usually when they're like, whenever trailer 3 rolls around, I'm usually at that point. Like once they start putting out clips of the movies, like watch this clip from the movie, then I stop.
What about like if a site posts spoiler information?
Yeah, I'll stay away from it then. Okay, like when Latino Review threw out that whole plan that they thought that they had mapped out up until 2019, I was like, I don't mind reading this because who knows if it's true or not. But if somebody had like real spoilers for a movie coming up, I would try and stay away from it.
Okay, fair enough.
So that's movie talk. Let's get into comic book talk.
Big week.
It was a big week.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a ton this week, though. Even though it was a big week, there was like, it was one of those weeks where it was like, there's some very, very good stuff.
Yeah.
And then there were some books that was like, like for me, like I read Spider-Gwen and Spider-Woman and some other books. And I thought they were good. But the number one thing on the top of my pile was Secret Wars #1.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with your thoughts. I mean, like Rob said, we're going heavy into spoilers from here on out. So what did you think of this?
I think it's a great payoff for someone who has been reading Marvel for all these years and like just keeping close up with Hickman's workings, especially the New Avengers stuff. I thought it was great, and every little moment had great meaning to me. And I can't wait to see where he goes next because, it leaves you in a spot like this. This was imminent. We knew a war was coming, but just how it ends kind of leaves you in a spot of, okay, holy crap, what's going to happen next?
Yeah. I think we should break down the book.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people could be coming into this. It's #1 of an event. And so people will pick this up, and it's possible they have been reading Hickman's whole run. We talked last week about Avengers, New Avengers, those books both ending and where they leave off. So this book picks up right there. The Ultimate Universe and the 616 universe are about to collide. The two Earths are almost on top of each other. And the Ultimate Universe sends off their heroes to go fight the 616 universe. And so all of this is taking place on the 616 world.
Correct.
Where Iron Man is is using his Iron Man 6, which I don't think we've seen since the Ultimates number 30.
No,
Millar's 30, when he uses the Iron Man 6 to save the world from Loki and Asgard, which is a terrific run. The Ultimates like first 30 something issues, and it was interesting. You may had talked about this before, but Iron Man's using his old costume, which he hasn't used since that original run. And I think that they did that. The Ultimate Iron Man, he's using his original costume, which is very distinct, so that people wouldn't get confused on what Iron Man was attacking. Because the Ultimate Universe's Iron Man suit looks very similar to Tony, like the 616 Tony suit.
I could see that happening. I just think that his original Ultimate suit is probably the most recognizable because, especially the beginning of that series, is the most read of any of those Ultimate books. So I think that's in even the casual Marvel readers, they've just seen either that cover or that design.
Yeah.
So
it's a very that one cover, you're right, is very, very popular, and they actually used it for Avengers. I don't know if maybe if we ended with 44, maybe 40.
Yeah, it was about 4 or 5 issues ago.
Yeah. So you have the two sets of heroes fighting, trying to save their universe, and it's like, it's bleak, it's upsetting, because you know that they're not, neither one of these sets of heroes is going to win. At the same time, you have Reed and his Illuminati getting ready to launch their life raft, trying to just save the species. Where they're going, we don't know. We don't know where exactly they're going to end up, but they're just trying to get out of the blast zone of these two Earths colliding together. I thought that was something to see. It's just it's such a weird thing to see heroes when you just know that they don't have a chance. Like, there's nothing that they can do.
Yeah, and this was definitely one of those things where there was no talking. There was no them sitting down and saying like, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't be fighting," or anything like that. This was just full out war.
Yeah.
I think that Ultimate Reed definitely got into like Ultimate Fury's head, and
for those
kind of forced his hand to pull a lot of this.
Let's talk about Ultimate Reed for a second. Okay. And for those who haven't been familiar with the Ultimate Universe, before Hickman actually was writing Avengers, he was writing the Ultimates, and he had this grand plan for the Ultimates that got cut very short, and we didn't know why at the time, but it was because he was offered the lead job on the Avengers. So he kind of made Ultimate Reed this evil bastard.
Yeah.
They kind of made him that world's Doctor Doom, even though that world has a Doctor Doom. Like, Reed just realizes that he's the smartest person in existence, and that they need to do things his way for the betterment of, I guess, of the human race. And when he does not get to do that, he creates his own race called the Tomorrow People. He creates a city, a living city, that he uses evolution, and time passes differently in the city. Like, Reed is thousands of years old now, and his children have advanced to these higher beings of war in a way. And there was a whole storyline in the Ultimates where he goes to war with Asgard and strips all the gods of their powers. It was great. It just got cut off too soon. So it's great to see Hickman be able to pick him back up, as he's done in the last couple of issues. So we have the Cabal, or the Cabal, which, however you say that word.
I say Cabal.
Cabal. Of Thanos, the Black Swan, Namor on the Ultimate Earth. They got stuck there through different means in the Avengers books, and they're kind of working with Reed. And so Reed is sending out his drones into the city. He's completely manipulated Fury, because Reed has been destroying worlds in secret for a long time, because he knew about the incursions.
Yeah, so Fury went to him and gave him the reins of everything, basically, and said, "Look, if this is the only way that we're going to live, then let us live."
Do what you got to do. And none of it matters for anything, because the two worlds end up colliding. What was super interesting was that Reed had ideas on who was going to be on this life raft, and different scientists and people who would help recreate human life and keep the species going.
616 Reed, you're talking
616 Reed. I'm sorry, that's going to be a bit confusing. We'll make mention of that. Just, he sends off this life raft, and Natasha's piloting it, and they don't make it, and those scientists go. So Manifold sends out and pulls in a couple of different heroes into the life raft. The female Thor, Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, Star-Lord, and I'm trying to see if there was anybody else. Oh, yes, and Scott Summers, who is in control of the Phoenix again.
That was great.
Now, that was really interesting to me, because 10 issues ago, the X-Men showed up in the Avengers, and out of nowhere. And I think the Illuminati knew something big is happening, and we're going to need your help. And Scott's like, it was just on one page in one issue. And Scott's like, no, I'm going to save everybody. And he wants nothing to do with the Avengers. And now we know why, is that he found a Phoenix egg, and he's waiting to use it until now. But he doesn't get to. Now, he gets to absorb the Phoenix essence again, like he did in Avengers vs. X-Men. and then he's whisked away by Manifold to get on this life raft.
Yeah,
and then
he was like mid
sentence. He was in like mid like big speech about ideas not being able to be killed. The book is like is just nonstop action.
I love that whole Sentinel part.
Yeah,
that was cool. Them flying in, and they were like, well, "Who's in control of those? Are they
Yeah.
ours or theirs?"
They didn't. Nobody knew. And we see heroes die here. We talked about Natasha. She doesn't make it. Rocket doesn't make it. There's a couple of other heroes that they're just not. They don't make it before the Earths even collide. So there's two really great parts in the book that stand out tremendously. One is the Kingpin.
Oh yeah, that part was excellent.
So the world's ending, right? And so the villains are like, God damn it. Like, if we're not going to get to rule the Earth, we may as well watch our greatest adversaries fail. And so Wilson Fisk sends out an email to like every associate in Bullseye, Green Goblin, the Lizard, and says, let's drink and watch our enemy's failure. And then the ending of that is perfect.
It's great because the Punisher kicks through the door and goes out guns blazing because he knows they're all there together and he doesn't care. He just wants to go about his focus and his path, and that is to punish the wicked.
Yeah, he says, gentlemen, they say that when you die, you can't take it with you, which begs the question, what am I going to do with all these bullets? And it just like it cuts off, and we don't know what happens from there on out. The other real part that I felt that was going
to be the Reed part.
It was the Reed part. So the life raft is getting away, and if you could see here, the two Earths are about to collide, and the life raft being here, and they're trying to get out of that blast zone. And again, we don't know exactly where they're going with this thing, but it being Reed and Valeria, like there must be some sort of plan that we're going to find out about. Except they get hit and there's a hull breach, and Susan and the kids, and it doesn't. I can't see who else is in there. All I know is that it just says T'Challa says, "Oh, Reed, Susan and the others, your children." And Reed's not panicking at first because he believes that Susan is going to be able to put up a force field around the breached ship, and he'll be able to pull them back in like a very short amount of time.
Ben and Johnny are there too.
Yeah. It doesn't work though, and the force field breaks and they die. And Reed is distraught, screaming. He gets parts of his fingers chopped off by the shield coming back up. And it goes into a whole monologue at the end while everything fades to white. And then at the end of the book, it says, let's see here. Let me see if I want to read this. That's a little bit too long to read. And I don't want to take away the impact of this really, really great quotes that they're running through here. But at the end, it says, you get the, rest in peace, the Marvel Universe, the Ultimate Universe. And then our next issue just sees the Lifecraft somewhere. We don't know where it is. And so
it's them walking off.
Yeah. So that's where the book ends. And I thought for an opening issue, you had mentioned it earlier, for fans of the Marvel Universe who have been following, the Avengers and who have been reading the Ultimate line, like this was like a triumph, I feel. How would you feel though if you're a new reader walking into this? Like, I haven't read any of the Avengers. I barely read any of the Ultimate line. I know that there's this big event that everyone's talking about. This is the #1 issue. So how would you feel walking into it from that viewpoint?
I would probably feel confused. Because I've seen it from customers that have read it already and like texted me and talked about it. There are people that are just event book people that pick up the big events and maybe one or two of their favorite characters series. And they don't follow the news or anything like that. So they're just picking this up because it's the summer event and they had no clue what was going on.
Yeah.
So that I could see. And to me, I just tell them, it's like, look, it's the Earth ending event. They're clearing the board and they're going to start anew. And this is just the end of those worlds. So the next issue will be the anew. That's where we'll find out the layout of how the new Marvel Universe is going to be crafted.
I agree. I mean, it's Hickman, so we know that there's a lot going on in this first issue. And if you're walking into it and you're like, I don't understand. I mean, the basic thing that you need to walk away with knowing and understanding from this book is that you have two Earths that are colliding and that there's a life raft of people trying to get away. And that's the basic idea. Issue 2, I think is, and they show
It's
it
next
here,
week.
is the cover, all the Thors. So we don't know if it's just a cover to the book or what's going on, but we know that the Battle Worlds thing is coming, and it'll be interesting to see the difference between book 1 and book 2.
I think it's going to be night and day.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and this is the thing about events, and I was actually talking with our friend Bobby about this last night, is that events they're hard, right? I mean, either they're a bunch of meaningless stories that take up time and pull issues away from their own stories to have crossovers, and that there's no real payoff. And we could list way too many of those. I mean, we could start with Axis, Original Sin,
Siege.
We don't know what Convergence is going to be like. I mean, DC does not do events on the scale that Marvel does. I thought Forever Evil was actually really good.
Forever Evil was amazing.
It's hard though to say, like, look, we're doing this world-changing, earth-shattering thing, and that's I mean, Marvel's gotten a lot of flack for that lately, where they're saying this will change the Marvel universe forever, and it's like, well, it's hard to have that type of story with no lead into it, So it's either gonna be a story with no meaning, or it's going to have a ton of meaning, but it might be a little bit hard to jump into. And I feel like that's the latter here, is that for them to do this thing that's going to change their universe forever and be earth shattering, there has to have been a big lead up to it. They couldn't just throw this story out there. And that's what we've gotten with Hickman, is we've got 80 something issues of Avengers and New Avengers to build up to this thing that's breaking the Marvel universe in half. And like,
not even ending the Marvel universe.
Ending the Marvel universe, yes.
And reforming a new one.
Yeah. So as difficult as it is for people maybe to jump into this first issue, I would definitely say if you jumped in and you were a little bit confused by it, you've got the basic premise. They're, like, as Rob said, wiping the board, and I'll be really interested to see what happens with issue 2. We're going to see where those people on the life raft went, but other than that, I have no idea what's coming.
Yeah.
There's no Earths to go back to. There's no universes to go back to. So whatever happens now, I have no idea. Rob has no idea. Nope. So if you're a new reader to this, you're going to be in the same boat as we are. We are just watching and anticipating what's coming now.
I can't wait.
Yeah. If there's one thing I want to say else about the book, it is that it is gorgeous. Esad Ribic is phenomenal in this. And who does the colors on this? It is... Oh, Rob, I'm terrible with names.
We both are.
Serena. I'm butchering that name, and I apologize. I am not good with pronunciation. But it is a gorgeous looking book. Mm-hmm. And if we're getting 8 issues of this, and is this not weekly? Is it bi-weekly? Because originally it was supposed to be 12 issues, and they dropped it to 8.
Correct. Yeah. The next issue does come out next week.
It is next week.
Yeah. It's the 13th.
13th? Well, for some reason, I thought this was 2 weeks away. I am not good with dates either, apparently.
It's not a weekly book, though.
Interesting.
I think it's bi-monthly.
Oh,
well, no, because if that's 4 months, maybe it's 3 times a month.
Oh, bi-monthly. I thought you meant you're going to be skipping a month in between. No. Oh God, this isn't Secret Invasion. All right. Well, next week we'll see what's going on. Like I said, I'm looking forward to it. And please, if you've read it and you want to reach out and let us know what you thought about it, we're interested in hearing what everybody thought. Especially if you haven't been reading Avengers, we want to know if it was too much. If it made you interested to go back and read the other stuff. I'd be interested to find that out.
Mm-hmm. And now we have a book that is by 4 yearly.
Yeah, God, 3 years. Let's talk about Batman Earth 1 Volume 2. And this just came out this week by Jeff Johns, Gary Frank. How would you describe the Earth 1 books? I mean, DC has so many of these different titles. Like they have Earth 2, Earth 1, regular universe. It's a little confusing for somebody who's maybe trying to get into this stuff.
Correct, yeah. Earth 1 was supposed to be their, and it is. It's their original graphic novel line that, all new not all new characters, all new origins for those characters. Easy just to throw into a bookstore onto the comic book shelf.
Yeah.
and have people just flat out buy them.
I like the idea.
Correct,
I like
yeah.
original graphic novels.
But it wasn't supposed to take this long for this book to come out.
Yeah, the original book, which I went back and read so that way I could refresh my memory. This came out also by Jeff Johns, Gary Frank in 2012. And I liked this one back when I originally read it. It's a retelling of Batman's origin with some twists. Because, I mean, I'm a sucker for alternate tales on or alternate takes on characters. Like, I love reading that stuff.
I did not like that book.
And I did. So tell me, what didn't you like about the original one?
Because I thought it was way too much like a just regular Batman.
Okay.
Other than Alfred being who he is on Gotham now, like this big shotgun toting character. Everything else just seemed so similar to the Batman mythos. They could have gone somewhere totally different. Like the Superman Earth 1 books
are way different.
Crazy different. And
I like the Superman Earth 1.
Yeah, so do I. And that this just felt too much like the same.
I mean, I agree with that in that the first one definitely felt kind of on point. Like he meets, he's using gadgets. The gadgets don't work. He has to find somebody to make the gadgets work. Who do you think he goes to? Lucius. His parents get murdered, but they kind of changed some things. I like what they did with some of the characters. I like what they did with Harvey.
Okay.
Harvey comes to Gotham, and he's a like one of those Hollywood detectives that would have a show on like TMZ, and he's bright and shiny and has like pearly white teeth, and he comes to the dirt and grime of Gotham, and he finds everybody corrupt, and even in a way Jim Gordon was a little bit not corrupt, but he was letting things go by that Jim Gordon wouldn't normally let go by, and that Harvey's the one.
So those characters are just swapped. Correct.
You know what? But you get a lot of that with these. I'm noticing, especially with the Batman ones, there is some character swapping, which to me, like, that's not a big deal. I like seeing different characters in different places. The way Harvey ends up in that book is kind of which would put him on the road to the Harvey that we know. So Earth 1 Volume 2, like I said, just came out this week, picks up 6 months later, and you could easily just pick this one up and read it. They make reference to the things that happened 6 months ago, and it's about a Batman that still does not completely know what's going on. This Batman gets his ass kicked. This Batman is not the Batman that you expect. And characters make a point to tell him, like, you're not that good of a detective. Like things like that. And it's about him learning and just trying his best to do the right thing, which sometimes he's not even sure what that is. And this one deals with like a couple of different characters. We got our introduction to Harvey Dent, who also has a sister, Killer Croc, more Gordon stuff. And the main adversary in the book is the Riddler. Is it a perfect thing? No, I don't think it's perfect. But for me, being a person that enjoys these alternate takes on characters, I like it. Like, I find it perfectly readable. And Rob, so you're probably looking at what, the price?
I was looking at the price.
Yeah.
It seems like a very quick read.
It is. It's a quick, you could sit this, pretty much bang this out in one reading. It's $24.99.
Because the amount of stuff, like even in, let's say, Secret War for $5 seems like the same amount of text.
There's more of that. There's definitely more than that in there. But I mean, the best part about these things, like, sure, it's $25 in the store. You buy it online at like a site like In Stock Trades, it's $12.
Okay.
So I mean, it for $12 or $12 to $16, like, I think it's worth a read. If you like those alternate tales, there are people who is like, no, this is not the character that I know and I want. And for those people, this is definitely not for you.
I have probably every single Elseworlds trade and single issue that's out there. So yeah. I am a sucker for alternate tales. And even like, I own every What If book. I love What If books. That stuff. Yeah.
So Rob's going to borrow this and he's going to read it. And then I'll be interested to know what you think of it.
Okay.
Now, what do you got?
Okay. Jumping on to another book that we talked about a month ago, No Mercy #2, where we last left off our heroes. They fell off a cliff. Their bus crashed. Tons of people died. and they were worried that the coyotes were going to come and get them. That's exactly where we left off.
Yeah. And then just as like a quick refresher for on issue 1, a bunch of kids on a missionary mission to, I think it was help build churches in like around Ecuador, somewhere down there.
Yeah.
And they're, like you said, their bus goes off the road, they crash, lots of people die. But these bunch of kids or teenagers.
Correct. Yeah. They're heavy technology laden kids. No phone reception. They don't know where to go, what to do. So they're just waiting out the night. This issue probably spans about 5 minutes worth of like real world time, because from start to finish, what happens is they light a fire, they reset someone's bones, the fire gets put out by mistake, the coyotes attack, and that's it.
Yeah. When you said that, I was like, it can't be that bad. And then I picked up and I skimmed through the issue, and you're right. It seems about like 5 to 10 minutes passing this whole thing.
It's something that could have been 2 or 3,
panels,
pages, not even panels, pages to convey, okay, they're in the shit, but they're already in the shit because they crashed off of a cliff.
You remember when we talked about this book originally, and my fear of the book was like, okay, they fell off the road. They're right off the road. By morning, somebody will notice that there's skid marks on this road. And I mean, it's not like it was not like they were like way off the road or something. They were on a road. Another car made them go over the edge.
Yeah.
So they would be found by midday the next day. And I was wondering, how on earth is this book going to stretch out? Well, now we've got this issue, and they're stretching it out by making an entire issue a passage of 5 minutes.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to say like I will not read the next issue, because I do. I want to see where they're going. I mean, it had potential, and it has potential. It's just really odd to me that this is what they chose to do in the second issue.
And you had mentioned in the discussion on the first one, we were having that same discussion, wondering where this book was going to go. They had some intrigue. Somebody on the bus is a drug dealer and has lots of cocaine on them. Like, all right, that's a pull. Like, that was like a little thread for me to grab. And they don't even go there on this issue.
I mean, they mentioned drugs, but not one mystery is solved. Not one new mystery is brought up.
There's not even a continuation of the mystery for the most part.
It is a flat stalemate of a 5 minute, passage of time.
Well, I will depend on you to tell me where this one goes.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely will. And actually on the same show, we talked about We Can Never Go Home #1. So issue 2 did come out this past week. And also the second printing of issue 1. I just had you read this.
Yeah. I was super excited. We talked last week about this issue coming out. And then when I got my books this week,
I could have sworn I put it in the bag.
It wasn't in the bag. And so like, I completely forgot about it. And when I saw it, I was like, I was excited because I forgot, and I read it really quickly. This book is really good.
It is. And it's so surprising. It's like, it feels like an Image title, quote unquote. And I'm super, super happy that there's a fresh new indie studio that now has 2 books that I'm in love with.
Mayday was the other.
Yeah, Mayday was last week. And yeah, We Can Never Go Home #2 picks up pretty much right where the last issue left off. His father's killed, and they need to be on the run. They can't stick around, obviously. They'll be arrested for murder. Throughout the issue, she, shows her powers more, and kind of more mysticism around who she is, where she came from, and like, what are his plans? Is he using her for like an ulterior motive?
Yeah. What makes this book so interesting is good writing. We talked about that in the first issue, like really good writing, but we don't know what's happening with these characters. The girl has powers. Sure. We know that. And we know from reading this issue that, she's in some sort of foster care.
Yeah.
And we just don't know him. I like the boy that she's with. we can't figure out what his real motive is. I don't know if he's if he's a prick, if he's playing her, or if he's sincere. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah, because I mean, to me, it's like his father abused him. So
Duncan
correct, yeah.
and Maddie, these are their two characters.
His father abused him, and she came and saved him, and the father got killed in the process. Now, this is something he could have defended himself. There was a gun in the house, so if he had any
desire
to get out of that situation, and he could have just shot his father. But it's almost like he wanted her to go this way.
Yeah.
He knew where the gun was, so why not?
I mean, we're saying some of the things that are happening in this book, and we're not really getting into like super heavy spoilers, but even if you've got an idea of what's going on, this might be the book I recommend that you pick up the most out of everything we've talked about since the show's inception. This is phenomenal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like teenagers. It's like we're in a car, we have food and gas, like
Doritos, and that's what they choose to buy.
And music. And it's like you feel that they are teenagers. Like, it's like what a teenager would do with all of this. Like, they have no idea what to do. It's like, we go to a hotel. Let's go to a hotel. Like, oh, okay, one bed, two bed.
That was
one
awesome.
bed, one bed. And it's got intrigue to it. It's got fantastic writing. Like, you feel a sense of connection with these characters. I feel a sense of connection with this story that I haven't felt from from any book in a while. But this is the type of book that would probably make me feel it the most. It's really good. I mean, I cannot wait to have this collected on my shelf.
Yeah. And if you can't wait for that, just go look for the second printing.
Yeah.
And for the first printing of this, because it's out there, and the cover designs are absolutely beautiful.
I mean, that's a great looking cover.
Mm-hmm.
So We Can Never Go Home, issue 2 from Black Mask. This is a book that I picked up this week that I had saw a solicit for, and it kind of was interesting. It's called Arcadia. This is issue number 1. It's from Boom Studios, and it's got an interesting hook to it.
What from the solicit made you kind of look towards it?
This is what I had read on, I forget which one, maybe it was CBR or something.
Okay.
In the early 21st century, 7 billion people died during a global, I don't even know how to say this. It's a virus outbreak. I have no idea what that is.
Cool.
So they died during a global virus outbreak. As the disease tore through communities, the world's governments took radical action to ensure humanity's survival. The brains of the dying were scanned, modeled, and uploaded in a vast computer simulation housed in enormous data centers around the globe. They call this simulation Arcadia. So you have 7 billion people die, and they're uploaded into the Matrix. And you get 2 views from this book. You get the view from people inside the Matrix, or Arcadia, if we're going to go by its full name here. And then you have what they call the meat. They call the people on the outside the meat, and they're the people who keep these servers running, where there are your families. Like, with 7 billion people dead, most likely somebody in there.
Now, do they have interactions with the people inside?
They're outlawed. So what happens is, and they make a great point, like, when that many people die, what happens to government? Well, the government gets really shrunk down. There's I forget what the number was, maybe 200 million people left on the planet alive. And what's happening is their natural resources, the people still alive, they're running out. And keeping these people alive in Arcadia is going against them. It's hurting them.
What is their incentive to keep these people alive?
I guess they don't really get into that, but
okay.
my assumption is look,
there has to be some
99% of the world's population is dying. Either we could throw them in this computer simulation where they could have some semblance of life, and maybe we could figure out something later, who knows, or we just let them all die. And so I guess they just decide to do that. We don't see the decision that brings us there. We're already, when this book opens, we're already there. We're already, years later. And what's interesting is that there's an interesting dynamic inside Arcadia. depending on how much money you have when you were dying, it kind of affects the way that you live there.
Oh, really?
So you have people, let me see if I can find the page here.
You got,
yeah, you have people who look like humans, and look like regular people, and then you have people like this guy who looks kind of like an alien, and he asks, could you spare a spine, because he doesn't have one, so his body is all deformed. And I guess if you don't have the right type of money, like you eventually could get deleted. But there's no, like, in a way, there's no dying in there if you have enough money, it seems, because the book starts out with a girl flying over the Grand Canyon, like a simulation of the Grand Canyon. And they tell her that they take their physics very neat around this part, and she falls and splats on the ground. And then 3 hours later, she reanimates and goes about her business.
okay.
But like I said, the communication between the people inside the simulation and the outside world are outlawed. And
Outlawed, but is it possible?
it's possible, because we see people in this issue breaking the rules.
Awesome.
We also see the president of the United States go into Arcadia like you would Jack into the Matrix to, I guess, communicate with the leaders inside of there. Like, they're supposed to be doing something for the people on the outside. They're supposed to be setting something up, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. But when they go in there, they can kind of like screw around with the physics and make different places. So that's supposed to be the United Nations, and it's this big, floating rocks with no gravity. They can use manipulation against you by bringing back people that you've lost. So the president sees her dead father, and she's like instantly taken back. There's dragons flying around, or the tail of dragons flying around. It's got an interesting premise. Like, I'm interested to see where this goes.
How's the writing?
The writing's good. Like, it's interesting.
Mhm.
It's not like on par. For me, it's like with something like We Can Never Go Home, but it's not that type of book.
Yeah.
But it was enough for me to want to keep going with this. It's 7 years later. That's how long it's been since they've been in the simulation.
Now, are you going to keep going singles, or are you going to wait for a trade?
I might grab the next one.
Okay.
And then, judging on how I feel about it, I'll either keep going or wait for a trade. Like, I want to definitely read this and see where the story goes, but I'm not sure yet whether it's going to be in single or trade. But I'm definitely going to grab the next one and see where it goes from there.
Okay, so we will get Justin's second issue review,
And then we'll see.
and then we'll
Hey, if
know
it's good,
should,
if it's good,
get the trade
there
or
are
not.
some books
Yeah.
that I do stick with for a while. Like, I'll go issues on them instead of trade waiting. But yeah, at the end it leaves off like in the epilogue in a weird spot. Like, there's a flying sand shark and some other things that I wasn't too sure about where they were going with it. But that's what makes me want to pick up the next one and see where it goes.
Awesome. It sounds very interesting. It's on my pile, but I just really haven't gotten to it yet. So, okay, now we're into our quickies. Spider-Woman issue number 7. We haven't talked about Spider-Woman yet, right?
I don't think so.
No.
And it's super good.
Yeah. Man, oh man. I mean, and the artist has changed, right?
Yes, it was originally Greg Land.
Correct. Yeah. Man, this is excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff.
Oh yeah.
The whole reason I like this issue is just because of the premise, like where they wind up. They wind up in a town that is built and monitored by the girlfriends or wives of like all different C-list and D-list super villains.
Yeah.
And I love seeing that backside of those kind of characters, because
They have families.
correct, they have families, they have kids. But what do they do when all you really see is what the villains are doing? And it seems like a nice little peaceful town. You have a great little sandwich shop, and that's what's really drawing me into this series. Is there is a deep human element, and it's not just all kick-ass.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm super excited to see the wrap up of this storyline. It leaves you in a very cliffhangy way.
Yeah. What issue? This is 7 of Spider-Woman.
Correct.
And I mean, they made a mistake with this book. The first 2 or 3 issues were pulled into the Spider-Verse event.
Yeah.
And that they actually picked up issue number 1 in the middle of the event. For those of us who were reading the Spider-Verse event, fine by me. Like I've never read a Spider-Woman book, so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll jump in and I'll read that. Greg Land is a lightning rod for controversy. Nobody loves the way he draws. So I think it was issue like 4 or 5. They made a switch. I think Dennis Hopeless is writing this.
Correct.
And Javier Rodriguez is the penciler. Reminds me, Rodriguez has actually drawn some Daredevil. I mean, I kept saying like, I was wondering why it felt like Daredevil, and it was because, oh, that's right, he did some. It also looks like Chris Samney. It's a beautiful looking book, and it's Jessica. You know, if you haven't been reading, she's left the Avengers and she's doing her own thing again. She's become a private investigator. She's working with Ben Urich on a case that brings her to this town, and it's fun. It's like Daredevil. That's what it reminds me of right now.
Yeah, it's got a mix of Daredevil's Superior Foes of Spider-Man.
Yeah, definitely. So if you haven't picked up any Spider-Woman, I would suggest doing it. I think you could pick up with like
issue 5.
5? Yeah, you're probably right, because that's when the costume change happened. I would pick up there, and it's fun. It's definitely good.
Next is Avengers Versus #1. The reason I'm bringing this up is I think it was a missolicit, #1, because everyone heard this Avengers Versus coming out, and it just seemed like it was going to be another series like Guardians Team Up, and it's not. It's 100% catered towards the kid audience.
Yes, in a big way.
It is the Avengers Assemble cartoon on paper form. I mean, even the last story is like art from that cartoon. Now, I don't mind that it's a book aimed towards kids.
Not at all.
But when you throw a $6 cover price on a book aimed towards kids,
that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, what? I'm not going to say what parent in their right mind, because I mean, there are parents that'll buy their kids a lot of things. But if you give a kid $5 and throw them into a comic store and say, pick a book, that they're never gonna gravitate towards this.
No, it's expensive for a kid's book. And it's not. I mean, it feels thicker than a normal comic.
It is. It's three stories in there.
Still, it's too much for a kid's book.
Yep,
way too much.
So that's the only reason why I wanted to bring it up. It's just something like this. Just cut it down. Make it a $3 book. Really cater it towards kids where they can afford it and want to pick it up.
They talk all the time about how important it is to get the next generation of comic book readers invested in comic books, and you do not do it by throwing a $6 cover price on a book. No way.
Nope. And there are a lot of misinformed people out there that were picking this up thinking that it was just a normal Avengers title.
Like you said, like a Guardians Team Up or Avengers Team Up book.
Correct. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see them come in next week and
be happy.
Yeah. Whatever. We'll see what happens.
I still have yet to read any of this right here.
Afterlife with Archie.
Now this book has like insane delays, doesn't it?
Yeah, but supposedly the delays are done and they're totally moving on. This is issue #8. Again, it seems like forever since this has come out. The last issue dealt with Betty's diary, so this takes a little time jump. They've since left town and placed themselves in a manor. They're waiting out a big snowstorm, so it doesn't deal with zombies in this issue. What does happen though feels very Walking Dead-ish, especially the first half of the book does. Cherry Blossom, or Cheryl Blossom, sorry. Cherry Blossom. I'm mixing her name up. She goes out into the woods with her brother and comes back all bloodied up and says, like, look, a zombie attacked him, killed him, and I killed the zombie. No one believes her, or, do they believe her? So they have to go to a vote. Do we let her come along with us, or do we abandon her? So the first half of the issue is very heavy on the ethics of is she going to come with us? No, I think she's a murderer. So they go to a vote, and she winds up sticking along. Now, the second half is where it just gets very interesting, in my opinion, because now they move into another new territory. So we had our zombies, we have witches, because we know Sabrina is there. Now we moved into ghosts.
Okay.
A big haunted manor, kind of like The Shining. And Archie gets to talk with Jughead again. Jughead has been dead since the first issue.
I have the first trade and I've never read it, but I've also never read any Archie whatsoever. And I know that I probably don't need to. But I hearing all this makes me want to just be like, why haven't I picked up that book off of my shelf and read it yet?
Okay, so I won't go any deeper in a sense, because they explain here why the town has just kind of been all fresh and clean this whole time.
Oh, really cool.
Yeah,
okay.
Why has there never been any horrors, or why are they always so peppy and happy and
that's cool,
untouched? And there's a reason, a deep dark secret, and it's cool. Archie's mom goes into the whole history.
All right, cool.
Very, very, very cool read.
I look forward to checking that out then.
Definitely.
What we're going to close with is a book I picked up at New York Comic Con, and I just got around to reading it yesterday. It is The Infinite Vacation by Nick Spencer and Christian Ward. It is a $25 book from Image's Shadowline run. And what drew me to it, I'm going to actually read the back. That's the best way I could explain this. The Infinite Vacation. Mark lives in a world where alternate realities are up for sale, and buying and trading your way through unlimited variations of yourself is as commonplace as checking your email or updating your status. But when other hymns start dying suddenly, and he meets a mysterious girl who wants nothing to do with life-changing, he'll learn the truth about the universe he stumbles through and what happens when your vacation turns on you. Personally, I've always been fascinated by the ideas of alternate realities. And I think everybody's had this particular thought. What if I chose something else than what my life has brought me to? What if instead of going left, I went right? What other choices would have happened? What other things would have happened in my life? And this book explores that deeply. Oh, what if I was, I'm 15 minutes late to work? Well, you could buy your way into a world where you were 10 minutes early that day. Something as simple as that. And they all cost money. So it's there's a moment in here where he wants to talk to this girl, and she's at a coffee shop and he misses his chance. Well, other hymns who experienced it are selling their experience of not letting her get away for half a week's salary.
Okay.
And so it deals with that type of stuff. What if I dropped out of college? What if I did this? What if I did that? And along the way, we see the different choices that Mark would have made, and what happens when he gets further and further into these worlds.
Now, is it heavy?
In a way, for me, it's going to require two reads. Okay. I was reading this at 1:30 in the morning, so perhaps that was that was why the ending needs to be explained a little bit better. I thought it was great. They have an introduction by John Gibbon, who is an actual scientist, and was I was kind of nervous about doing the introduction to this book because I don't want my name associated with some insane comic book. But he goes on to explain about Schrodinger's cat and that experiment. Those ideas are played out really well here. It's a little bit heady, but I found it to be really exciting. What drew me to the book the most, though, was the art. The art is spectacular. I'm trying to look for a really great page here.
It's got a lot of different styles in there.
So it's very colorful. I'm trying to see if I grab another quick one. Yes, so it's super colorful and stuff. Here we go. Here's another great example of just the great colors in the book. But what I found to be really great was the pages where they're explaining to you what the company that does the Infinite Vacations, they have promotional videos, and their promotional videos are just real people pictures with text. And that always trips me out when you see an actual real person with thought bubbles or word bubbles around them. It always weirds me out when I see that.
It is. Yeah. To me, a lot of the times it's just very off-putting.
Yes.
But I guess if done in a good way. Then...
Yeah. Off-putting is the right word. I really enjoyed this. There was a page in this book, or like 2 pages, but like one particular panel where I actually got like kind of emotional looking at it. I'm not going to spoil what it is. If you're interested in picking this up, I'm going to reread this again just because I want like a better grasp of the ending. But like I said, I enjoyed it. It's beautiful to look at, and it's something different. And Nick Spencer's a good writer. He does Superior Foes, something else that he did. We were just talking about Nick Spencer a couple weeks ago. He was doing
Secret Adventures. Did he just finish?
Yes, he did Secret Adventures. There was another one that's slipping my mind, but like I liked everything that I've read from Nick Spencer, and that's why I picked this up and I enjoyed it.
Fantastic.
So that's it. That's it for this week. We're gonna do a little bit of housekeeping before we get out of here. Rob's not allowed to hit the button to end us early this week.
Nope. I'm just setting it
up
close over there.
All right. We're Backup Stories on Twitter. You can reach out to us. Let us know what you're thinking of the show, what you've been reading that you've liked. If we're not talking about a book that you guys wondering our thoughts on or want us to check out just because you think it's awesome, let us know. You could do that on our Twitters. I'm at Joroak, Joroak.
And I'm at Dusk1020.
Every week you can catch Rob and me on the Talking Games podcast at Talking Games. This week I was hosting the show and Jackie was crazy. We talked about some games, some Shovel Knight, some more Bloodborne,
and some alcoholism.
Yep, definitely that as well. We're part of talkingcomicbooks.com, so you can come if you're on the website right now looking at this, but if you're on the YouTube page, come over to talkingcomicbooks.com and check us out.
A lot of good stuff.
That's going to do it for us this week, guys. Until next week, goodbye.